Hello and welcome to another SciFirst MovieTalk episode. So, in this episode, I will be discussing 2018's comedy cum drama, I Feel Pretty. Well, that's at least what the name of the film is. Starring Amy Schumer and directed by Abby Cohn and Mark Silverstein. In the film, we are introduced to Schumer's character, Renee Bennett, who's extremely insecure with the way she looks and, as a result, lacks confidence in almost all aspects of her life. She has a pretty good job working in IT, I thought, maintaining a website for a makeup company called Lily Leclerc, headed up by Avery Leclerc, as played by Michelle Williams. However, she is pretty much relegated to the basement in an annex to the company across town, presumably because the IT department don't fit in with the look of the company. I believe that's the insinuation that's made. However, no self-respecting company would put their IT department this far away. You know, a website is pretty much almost these days, it's the face of a brand. Being the first place that many people go to find out about a company, and so to hide them away don't make sense. But then I suppose that wouldn't have fitted in with acquired comedy, eh? Anywho, Renee longs to work at the actual Lily Leclerc head office, but her low self-esteem stops her basically from applying for a receptionist job that kind of comes up at the company as the film goes on. One night, she stops at a fountain. Renee makes a wish to be beautiful. The next day, then, fairly gruesomely, I might add, unelegantly falls off a bike at a spinning class, nearly losing her scalp in the process. She hits her head quite hard and passes out. When she awakes, she finds that her opinion of herself, when looking into the mirrors, has significantly changed. She now looks hot. But I must stress, this isn't a film where an actual transformation actually takes place. It isn't one of those types of film at all. Renee never actually looks any different. Only her view of herself actually changes. And we never get to see what she thinks she looks like. Because that's unimportant and not part of the film's message. The simple fact is, she looks beautiful nonetheless. Anywho, with the belief that she is now beautiful, she develops a newfound confidence like none other, and manages to get herself the receptionist job and the boyfriend to boot. Her confidence also sees her working closely with Avery Leclerc, who starts to appreciate her views on a new line of makeup, their diffusion line, destined for the shelves of Walmart and Target, such that Avery makes her a key player in the launch of the line. Given that Renee has an affinity for the target market that is basically foreign to Avery. However, Renee starts to become too confident, becoming arrogant, rude and conceited and judgmental towards her friends and visitors to Lily Leclerc's in the process. Everything which used to knock her own confidence and make her feel self-conscious and not good enough. She then suffers another quite brutal knock on the head, which sees her perceptions of herself revert back to what they were before the initial knock at the spinning class. Will she then basically come to realise that she never actually changed at all, and it was only because she was confident in herself that people around her started to look at her in a different light? So, I would like to say that the comedy in this film is sophisticated, that I would like to say that the comedy is well thought out. However, albeit parts are funny, they are funny enough to keep the film watchable, and yes, in the main, the comedy tries to be more meaningful than other films of a similar vein. 2001's Jack Black comedy Shallow Hal does spring to mind, and it is somewhat enjoyable. There are a number of, although it is somewhat enjoyable, there are a number of what we probably call like mandatory for a film like this, obligatory fart jokes, and a few cringy scenes depicting perceived stereotypes. One scene in particular, and if you have watched the movie, you'll know which one I mean. I would suppose it was there to convey just how dank and dingy Renee's workplace is at the start of the movie. However, it just felt totally crude, degrading and unnecessary. It was almost like the film couldn't make up its mind on the comedic style it wanted to portray. The film does have a heart and does try in earnest to be different kind of comedy with a strong and pertinent feel-good message. It's a film about self-confidence and being confident in the way that you look, not concerning yourself with how others perceive you, and in this sense, it does have some quite sad and some serious moments. The film also reflects on Renee's own journey of not only self-realisation in this respect, but also the realisation that everybody has their own insecurities and perceptions of other people, which may not always match your own beliefs or understanding. The film doesn't take what I would call the zany approach either. In fact, although there's an insinuation of a wish being made, and this could be why Renee wakes up seeing a different side of herself, it could quite have simply have been a medical issue. People come out of comas all the time after hitting their head and can speak with a different accent or even a different language they've never ever spoken before. The mind is a powerful thing. So, overall, given the style of the film, and that there is never any reference to anything magical happening, I would like to think that perhaps it was more science than magic. But it works either way. It's left ambiguous enough that you can believe what you want, and it pretty much makes little difference. As a whole world of opportunities opens up for Renee, we find it simply due to the fact that her confidence has grown, but based on the perception that she has of herself. So, now, I do have a few issues with the film on this respect, based on the way that it executes its premise. It would be somewhat believable if it wasn't for two things for me. The first is that when Renee is hired for the receptionist job at Lily Leclerc's, it is made out, and the film would like you to believe, that this is because she went in full of self-confidence and made sure she was noticed. However, this isn't technically true. Confident or not, they still thought that she wasn't the right look for the brand. But in an earlier scene, Avery's nan, Lily, the founder of the company, as played by Lauren Hutton, had made a statement about getting in touch with people who might use their diffusion line. Technically, Renee found herself at the right place at the right time. Any other time, would she have been hired just based on the confidence alone? I don't think the film goes far enough to make that clear. I would like to think they would, but that's not how attitudes are portrayed. The second is somewhat related, really, in that the film tries to convey this feeling that it's all about Renee's confidence and self-projection as to how others perceive her, and makes a big play on that fact, especially at Lily Leclerc's. However, the reaction of the staff working there and even some of their clients just serves to reinforce the divide, and that no, it's not all in her head. She's not entirely misplaced with her feelings, and as sad a thought as that is. Furthermore, quite a few times throughout, Renee also makes her own judgments about other people basically based on the way that they look, especially those that she's actually trying to aspire to be. Now, coming from somebody who's had their fair share of insecurities, I can tell you that when things reach as dire stage as Renee, as depicted at the beginning of this movie, you might think that other people have it easier. It's hard not to. But one thing it does teach you is not to judge others in the same way as they may judge you. Everybody has their own insecurities, and Renee's judgments in this respect are misplaced in my opinion. But the movie doesn't go far enough to dispel these notions in my book, and highlight the insecurities of the other characters, which, when they just seem all too trivial in nature or simply quickly brushed off too easily. Like they aren't severe or just simply inconsequential. It fails to balance the argument and takes a very dim view and stereotypical view of the people she tries to aspire to be. They're self-centered, conceited, selfish, and ultimately she kind of transforms into them as the film goes on, and loses some of her identity. The message here being that beautiful, or perceived at the very least, goes hand in hand with all of these qualities. Pretty much a one-sided argument, I would say, and very much incorrect. I think it's fair to say that there are misconceptions on both sides of that coin. All people have insecurities across the board. Some people can put more of a front of it, but never judge a book by its cover. Things may not always be what they seem. If perhaps we felt that we were free to talk about all of our insecurities without judgment, regardless of the way that we look, then we might start to be able to dispel some of the stereotypical misconceptions that are out there. Just a thought. What I did like, from a male perspective, was that there is a scene which highlights that we too are self-conscious and self-confident about our appearance. When Renee starts to neglect the situation and feelings of other people, she becomes absolutely okay with showing her own body off, but didn't take into account that her boyfriend didn't want to, due to him feeling inadequate, that he was self-conscious about his own body, and the fact the film highlighted this was a nice touch, I thought. Whilst I haven't really cited the comedy as anything special and a bit mixed as to its style, one thing that did stand out was the comedy surrounding Renee's interpretation of other people's reactions to her following the initial knock. She basically point blank ignores what everybody else is saying and hears and sees what she wants to, which is the beauty of the main bulk of the comedy, where that kind of comes from. Not so much the visual gags for me, which I basically could take or leave, but moreover for me the play on words which ensues throughout the film. And I would say kudos to Amy Schumer. She played Renee very well, I thought. Absolutely excellent. I thought her best friends, Vivian and Jane, as played by Adie Bryan and Busy Phillips, respectively, also came across extremely well. They didn't care what people thought of them. They were just happy to be friends. And because they came across with a more nonchalant attitude, they didn't need to get a bang on the head to start opening up their lives to new experiences, shall we say. All told, it was a fairly decent feel-good movie, and at its heart was in the right place, at the very least. If perhaps maybe not executed quite as well as it could or should have been. I do think the film will resonate with a lot of people, and hopefully in the way that it was intended. It felt perhaps a little longer than it needed to be. Certain parts did seem to kind of drag out a little. A shorter film might have made it a bit snappier, and the jokes flow a little bit better, perhaps. Oh, and one last thing. With the film co-starring Michelle Williams and featuring Busy Phillips, it was like a little mini Dawson's Creek reunion, but that's just me. Anywho, so that brings me to the end of this episode. Many thanks for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please do leave a like. Please do consider hitting that subscribe button. Of course, please do come back and visit SciFirst MovieTalk for other movie reviews, other movie-related content, such as gaming and trailer reactions. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.